Hi everyone, in this lecture we're going to cover continuous improvement and the Toyota way. So we've been learning a lot about lean production and lean tools, and in this lecture we want to provide some of the philosophy and ideas that underpin some of these tools and applications. So the learning objectives are, first, to understand the central role of continuous improvement in lean production, define the principles of the Toyota way, define the 14 principles proposed by Dr. Jeffrey Liker, and clarify the relationship between the Toyota Way 2001 and the 14 principles. So we've been learning a lot about the qualitative and quantitative tools behind lean production, but it's important to understand that lean is really not just a set of tools and techniques, and it is not a state. As Dr. Jeffrey Liker says in his book, most companies have focused too heavily on tools such as 5S and just-in-time without understanding lean as an entire system that must permeate an organization's culture. So really what lean is more about a process, right? You never achieve a state of lean, you're always in a process of applying lean. And also lean is a guiding philosophy about how you should conduct business and provide value for your customer. So with this in mind, the Toyota Way is really a set of guiding principles about how we should conduct business, and lean forms an integral part of these principles. So the Toyota Way 2001 is a set of management principles proposed by the Toyota Motor Corporation themselves. And you'll notice that it is marked with the year 2001, and the idea behind this that it is temporal or bound by time and thus subject to change. So what this means is that the Toyota Way itself can change. It reinforces this value of continuous improvement. So the Toyota Way must evolve amid ever-changing business and environment. And the Toyota Way 2001 is divided into two major components, that is continuous improvement and respect for people. So as I said, the Toyota Way is divided into continuous improvement and respect for people. And within this, we have a few more subsets. And this is challenge. And within challenge, we have the idea of creating value for your customer through your processes and manufacturing. The spirit of challenge behind improving and tackling problems, and a long-term perspective. So we must sacrifice short-term goals for the long-term objectives of the business. And also thorough decision making. And then also we have Kaizen, which is another word for continuous improvement. And within Kaizen, we have things like innovative thinking, lean systems and structures, which we have learned a lot about, and organizational learning. And then we have this idea of Genchi Gumbutsu. And what this is about is going and seeing problems for yourself. So you can't solve a problem behind a desk or a computer screen. You must go and see the problem where it is occurring. Roll your sleeves up and get your hands dirty if you have to fully understand the problem. And also building consensus in decision making. So everyone involved in the process of continuous improvement must be involved and involved in the decision making behind it. And lastly, a commitment to achievement. Now within respect for people, obviously we have respect, and this involves respect for stakeholders. So I've seen in industry companies that sort of have contempt for their suppliers and stakeholders, and this created a lot of problems with their quality of supplies and business processes. So really we have to treat them as partners in the continuous improvement journey. Mutual trust and responsibility, and also sincere communication. So within respect for the people, we also have teamwork, and this also involves education and development. So continuous improvement just doesn't apply to our processes and our products, it also applies to developing people within the organization. And furthermore, we also have respect for the individual. So the 14 management principles were proposed by a man named Dr. Jeffrey Liker in 2004. So while Toyota and Japanese manufacturers were dominating the Western and American markets, the Americans sent over a bunch of people to study Toyota to see why they were so successful. And so while Toyota were coming up with the Toyota Way 2001, Dr. Jeffrey Liker was also forming his own perspectives on how they achieved such great manufacturing processes. So he provides an alternative perspective on the Toyota way. And so he divides these 14 management principles among 4 sections, or what he calls the 4 Ps. And these are a long-term philosophy. The right process will produce the right results. Add value to the organization by developing people, and continuously solving root problems and driving organizational learning. And again, this ties back to the idea of continuous improvement. So the 14 management principles, let's get into them. The first is to base management decisions on a long-term philosophy, even at the expense of short-term goals. 2, create continuous flow to expose problems. Use pull systems to avoid overproduction. And we saw this, that you only produce what the customer wants when the customer wants it, to reduce overproduction and mura. Leveling out the workload. Again, we saw this idea of removing mura or inconsistency, removing overburden or muri, and heijunka. Build a culture of stop and fix, or jidoka. 6, standardize tasks and processes. Again, eliminating mura or inconsistency in our organization. Using visual controls so no problems are hidden. Use only reliable, thoroughly tested technology. So it's very tempting to use the latest gadgets and the latest technology to somehow jazz up our business processes. But Toyota was very against this idea, and they're very resistant to using new technology for the sake of using it. Number 9, grow leaders who understand the work and live the philosophy. So it's not enough that you should bring in consultants to tell you what to do. You should build people up through the organization who live and breathe these principles. And again, this ties into number 10 about developing exceptional people within the organization. Number 11, respect your extended network of partners and suppliers. So these should be allies in helping implement continuous improvement and lean processes. Number 12, again, Genchi Genbutsu, go and see the problem for yourself. 13, make decisions slowly and by consensus, but then implement them quickly. And 14, relentless reflection and continuous improvement. So, as I said, as Leica was developing his understanding and writing his book on the Toyota Way, Toyota was also developing their own internal philosophy for teaching, and Leica proposes this conceptual model that links the two. So challenge ties to philosophy, Kaizen or continuous improvement maps across most of this 4P model, respect ties to people and partners, and Genchi Genbutsu, or seeing problems for yourself, really ties into implicitly into problem solving and continuous improvement. And what Leica says, and what you might experience, is that most organizations are trapped in this idea that all they have to do is eliminate waste, applying 5S and, eliminating non-value add processes. And this is really the wrong way to think about it. So we learn about lean production techniques and application as an introduction, but it's important to understand that the scope is much larger. And what I really like about this model is that philosophy is the base of this pyramid. It is the ideas behind the lean tools that is important, more so than the application itself. So in this chart, we can see how the 14 management principles map to the Toyota Way 2001. And you can see that Leica focuses very heavily on lean production, the tools and applications. And the Toyota Way, by contrast, is much broader in scope. So it includes things like creating value for your customer through your processes and manufacturing, but also how we should relate to each other and treat people within the organization. Things like mutual trust and responsibility, sincere communication, and respect for people. So in the principles of lean production, we've been learning about qualitative and quantitative tools and techniques for measuring processes and applying improvement techniques. And this has looked at things like creating continuous flow to expose problems, using pull systems to avoid overproduction, leveling the workload, heijunka, building a culture to stop and fix problems, standardizing tasks and processes, and also using visual controls or visual management to expose problems. But it's important to understand this is not all there is. We also have to consider the other pillar of the Toyota Way, which is respect for people. And this involves things like developing exceptional people within your organization and respecting your extended partners and suppliers as allies in continuous improvement.